Vanakkam, thank you very much for inviting me to join this broadcast, and in particular to pay my respects and thanks and give my support to Mrs. Selva Kumar, who has been on a hunger strike since the 27th of February. I admire this amazing woman for her campaign and for her courage. And I think everyone who has supported the cause of the Tamil people over many years will wish to give her support. And I'm sure that her example is example to us all. I would like to say about Mrs. Selva Kumar that as a mother and as someone who has got many friends and a good family, that when she gives up fasting, as I hope she will, because we do wish her her health and happiness, she has the support of myself and the whole of the Liberal Democrats in continuing her campaign, and the campaign that I know we are all so strongly behind. And I want to talk about that campaign now through the example of Mrs. Selva Kumar. You all know that the Sri Lankan state has discriminated against the Tamil people for many, many years. Destruction of monuments, the elimination of the language and the history, the stripping of human rights, and the refusal to allow proper justice and democracy for the Tamil people is unacceptable. And we saw nearly 12 years ago action which can only be described as genocide in the way the Sri Lankan people were attacked, innocent Sri Lankan civilians, Tamil civilians. And you saw some pictures of that. I think we've all seen over the years the evidence that is so awful, but also compelling. And it speaks to us over the years about the need to continue the struggle, not least for accountability. And many of you will have followed the debates at the United Nations Human Rights Council, which has been part of the international process to try to secure that accountability, and how last year the Sri Lankan government withdrew from its support for previous HRC resolutions and walked away. It's therefore incumbent on the UK government, as a key player in those discussions at the United Nations Human Rights Council, and indeed the wider international community, to hold the Sri Lankan government to account. If it refuses to abide by resolutions it previously supported, then it is surely right that the international community redoubles its effort and refuses to accept that position. And one of the key demands of recent months, which I and the Liberal Democrats fully support, is the need to establish an international independent investigative mechanism, rather like the ones that's been established in Syria and Myanmar, which can ensure that the evidence of international crimes and human rights violations are collected and prepared for future criminal prosecutions. And we want to have this international independent investigative mechanism set up with a clear time frame, so the world can bring together that evidence which we all know exists, ready for action. And the call on the UN Security Council, the UN General Assembly to act on that, to when the evidence is produced, as it surely will be, to refer Sri Lanka to the International Criminal Court, I think is a very, very strong statement. And it is necessary now because of the Sri Lankan government's refusal to abide by the resolutions it previously signed up to, which many of us felt did not go far enough, were a compromise, but were prepared to live with because the Sri Lankan government said to the world that it would abide by. It never did. And now it's walked away. And it should not be surprised that the rest of the world therefore want to proceed without it and will take the strong message. And I think this proposal for international independent investigative mechanism needs to be backed by ensuring that the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has a new special rapporteur who will be able to monitor in Sri Lanka ongoing violations and have an actual presence in Sri Lanka, because we know the violations of Tamil rights continue now on a daily basis. And I think it's incumbent now on the British government to respond. Just as Mrs. Selvakumar has helped bring these demands forward on behalf of the Tamil community across the world, I think it's now incumbent upon politicians in countries like the UK to respond in kind, given the action of the Sri Lankan government. I've written to the government, I've asked them to take action, and I call on them again to do so. We have a debate in the House of Commons this Thursday. I hope that I'll be called by the Speaker of the House of Commons, and I hope I will be able to make my points on the floor of the House to the Minister. We'll see their reaction, but they have promised a lot and delivered very little. I have, working with people like Simon Hughes and Tom Brake and others, have campaigned with you and the Tamil community here in the UK over many years to try to get a breakthrough. And I share your frustration, your sadness, your impatience, your anger at the failure to achieve that. But we will never give up. And whether it's here in the UK, whether it's lobbying in Brussels, which I've done with the Tamils representatives, or whether it's in Geneva at the United Nations Human Rights, because wherever it is, we should be there making the case to win people over to support the Tamil people in Sri Lanka and the Tamil diaspora. You have many friends. We will continue to work with you and be with you. So can I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you've done, and particularly the amazing Mrs. Selvakumar. Thank you. Vanakkam Nanri.
Thank you very much, Davey. You're special. You taking time to give your speech today and strengthen Ambigai Selvakumar as well. Thank you for your continuous support and give your voice on behalf of Tamils in British Parliament. And you have done lots to Tamils, and we hope you will keep continuing your support to us, and we can get the justice soon, hopefully soon, with your support, I think. Thank you so much for your presence. It's strengthened us all. Thank you. அண்ட் இறுதி நிகழ்வாக்கு நாங்கள் செல்ல இருக்கின்றோம் இப்பொழுது.